Okay, and I'll start back. Thanks, Linda. And then I still looking in the background there.
Repeat that.
I didn't know you're still looking in the background there.
I am. Trust me.
I know it started over now, so I forgot to record it. I forgot to hit record. So, Jaydan, could you please tell me an additional piece of information that you could include in this notice for students who are interested? Think of the different requirements that you must include in the content of the notice. What's missing from the content of the notice? Because some things are missing that we could elaborate on.
The time.
The time. Did they put the time that they're going to visit the home?
No.
Did they even put the time of the trials? They didn't, so time is a good one. Sanjay, I saw you raise your hand. What's the question?
I was gonna answer.
You was gonna?
Say the time as well.
Okay, well then that's okay. Give me something else.
But I don't know anything.
You what?
I don't know anything else.
Yes, you know. If we're going to visit the home, right? So we don't know the time we're going to visit the home. We don't even know the time of the trials. What again is missing? The only thing we have
Address.
is the
Address.
the address. We don't know where the Alexander Elderly Care Agency is located. Do y'all know where this place is located? This is an actual elderly home in Trinidad, you know. We don't even have the address.
What a spin.
No, it's actually located in Chaguanas. So very good. We don't have the address of the home. That would be really good because, for instance, remember it's school children we're talking to. So, like for instance, maybe their parents would be interested in knowing, okay, how far the commute is to this home. So, address is a very good one that we could include. Ravi, what is something else that we could include in the information in this notice?
Is it that the show is going to be at the elderly home itself?
Pardon?
Is it that the show is going to be at the elderly home itself?
Yeah, well, we could know that. Yeah, you could put that information because all it says is that we're collecting funds and we're going to have a performance for them. But the notice then specify if they come into our school,
If any.
we have to go to them.
Yes. What about the host?
What, you mean like some general information about the home?
No, the host. Like who hosting it?
Oh yes, like who hosting it. And that's what I was asking Ravi just now. Because the notice then specify if the elderly persons are coming to our school for us to put on the show for them, or if we actually have to go to them, you know, out of school hours or during the school day. So that's very good. We need to know who's hosting the event. We just know that we're putting on the show for them, but it didn't really specify if it's taking place at the elderly home or if it's taking place at the school. Very good. And Marie, I want you all to tell me something else that is missing. Anything else that we could add to this notice, Marie?
Miss, since if it's funds you're raising, will there be anything on sales? On sale?
Oh, very good, because we're raising funds, but we didn't say how we're raising the funds.
Yeah, because they will just participate in, like, either you would have to pay a fee or you have something on sale.
Very good. So we could let them know that beforehand. Maybe we'll be having like a few sales taking place at school. I saw Kimberly raise her hand. Kimberly, what's the question? Kimberly?
Miss, could we talk about how the children should behave because it's an elderly home?
What do you mean about that, Kimberly? Elaborate, let me hear.
Like, you know, not too much noise or something like that.
Very good. So maybe you can let them know that, you know, if while we're visiting the home, maybe you want to ask, you know, to turn off your cell phones, put it on vibrate, not walk with the electronic devices. So that's very good because sometimes, you know, remember the elderly home, the reality is the persons are sick. You know, you have to know how to talk to them, how to interact with them. And some students may come across as too aggressive, too loud, too unmannerly for them. And who again raised their hand? Marie, you have to mute your microphone. Yes, Sanjay.
What about like they say what they're providing, like if they're providing food or drinks or something?
That's very good. Because if you're inviting whether the elderly people come to you or you go to them, you have to know like what's on the agenda. Okay, yes, we're going to put on a showcase for them, but are we going to be providing any light refreshments for them? And if it's elderly people, then there are only like a few things that they could eat. So you could let them know that, hey, we're raising funds so that we could provide like light refreshments for them after the show. So that's a very good point that we could raise. Anything else that we could include that wasn't there before? Let me see somebody that I could call on.
The cost of the tickets or whatever, the cost of the show. Participating.
Well, okay. So cost of the tickets, that's a really good way to raise funds. But I want you to tell me, because remember we said that it's just the school children putting on the show, right? But how we could try to get a wider audience? Like who again you think to be added to the event, Sanjay?
Relatives.
Yes, you could invite relatives, the immediate family to come. So maybe you could sell some tickets to the immediate family so that they could come on board and be part of this. Felicia, any last thing that we could add to this notice to make it 200 to 250 words?
Miss, but then they give us the word limit as 50 over here.
No, but I'm just saying that in the event that this question comes, like a question like this, and if you had to write 200 to 250 words, how you could use this but elaborate to make the 200 words?
Miss, what about elaborating about the different activities, like what is expected of the persons, or
That's
what they could expect?
That's a really good point, because remember, if you're dancing, if you do not dance for old people, I don't think you're gonna come and twerk on the stage for the old people to see. I don't think you're gonna want to do a dance like that. If you're doing a drama and stuff, it must be something that's relatable to them. I don't think you would do a play about, about crime in Trinidad and you have like zestas and stuff. I don't think these old people would be in tune to know what's taking place in society like that. So yes, the performances and stuff need to be age appropriate. Maybe it could be geared towards their era. So if you're singing a song, maybe it could be a song that they grew up hearing. If it's like a play that you're doing, some sort of drama, it could be a reenactment of a popular play that would have been in their time period. So that's a good thing that you could include as well. Anybody have any more questions about the notice before I move on?
Miss, the date. I know you said it right long and by that looking short on to me.
Well, the only thing that's missing here is the day of the week.
So you're leaving, just like how they write 10, you don't have to write TH.
No.
Alright, so just playing like Monday, Tuesday. Oh, okay.
And you realize there's no punctuation, right? Because remember when we did the letter writing and stuff, we using the open punctuation format where we don't put the punctuation marks.
Yeah, and they said that a long time.
Right, so we're not using the punctuation marks here.
Even in the body of the notice as well, you're putting in the day of the week.
Yes, if you want, you can put in the day of the week here. But for uniformity, that's why we're just sticking with the number, the month, and the year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but if you included the day of the week here, you should have included it here for uniformity. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Any more questions before we move on? Okay, good. So let's move on to the second part, which is the memorandum. So for those of us, we probably don't know it by this long word named memorandum. We just know it from hearing people say a memo. And for those of you who are in the world of work, you would know about the memo. So you would know that, maybe a memo could be circulating in work, and maybe you'll have to respond to the memo. The memo could be about you. So for those of us who are in school, maybe we never heard about the memorandum before, but I'm very positive about that those of us who are in the world of work, at some point in time, we would have heard about memos being circulated in work. And memo is short for memorandum. So this is something else that you could get to write about in the exam, right? So it says a memorandum is a brief document frequently used to convey information about routine matters in the world of work. So routine matters in the world of work, right? So everyday things that you will see in the world of work. So for example, some issues in the world of work, maybe you will see a memo reminding employees about, the working hours. So like for instance, if a boss notices that, the boss is noticing that a lot of employees, they reach to work late, or they tend to leave work before time is up. So if the job is from 8 to 4, a lot of employees are walking at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and they even want to leave work at 3 o'clock and half 3. Maybe a memo could be circulating, reminding employees about the working hours. So this is what we mean by routine matters. So things that, that we are accustomed hearing, things that are important and that are relevant to everyday life in the world of work. So maybe a memo could be circulated reminding all employees that, hey, what, we're going to remind you all about the working hours because we have noticed that many of you all are reaching to work late and you're even leaving early. So one thing to note about the memo is that it should be concise. So remember, the word concise means short. It should be clear. So whatever you say must be clearly stated. When the examiner reads the memo, the examiner should be trying to figure out, okay, what is this person trying to say? Because they're not being clear or vocal about what they say. Like, I have to read in between the lines, or the meaning is implied, it's not really there. So it must be clear, and the information must always be accurate. So you will always see this word accurate being popping up in section B, because remember, in this section we are just recounting factual information. So whatever we are discussing here in section B, it must be correct information. So it says the tone, and from studying poetry and stuff, Hema, could you tell me what you remember tone to be? We did tone when we were analyzing poetry and stuff, and we see popping up in paper 1. It says the tone should be businesslike and respectful, not hostile or threatening. So Hema, what do you remember tone as being?
Miss Wait, I'm still remembering.
You still remember it. Hema, what tone has to do with? Just think about what tone has to do with. What is tone directly related to?
I am thinking in terms of the manner in which you bring across stuff.
Okay, and tone has to do with what part of your body?
Vocal.
Yes, so like a tone of voice. Very good. So the tone has to do with your tone of voice, right? So for instance, you ever read something and by you just reading it, you could tell that the person was really angry, or maybe they were screaming when they were writing this. Because because of the choice of words that they use, it comes across as if their tone of voice is a very firm and stern one, and one that is even very rude. And even when you read something, you tend to feel relaxed or happy because the person was using words that reflects a very calm and soothing tone. Even when you read a piece of a poetry or a story, and you'll begin to cry. Why do you all begin to cry? Because the words that the person used and how it was brought across, it brought in that feeling of sadness and despondency in you. So your tone has to do with your tone of voice. And remember, whenever you are writing, you want to be sounding businesslike and respectful. So one thing I noticed was that in the midterm exam, when you all got your letters to write, you all had to write to the manager of the supermarket. And some of you all actually began your letters saying, "Hi, how are you? I hope you are fine." But that is not the formal tone of voice to use. That's an informal tone of voice. Because remember, you're writing, you are lodging a formal complaint against the supermarket. And if you're writing to the boss, the chances are that you have never met the boss before. So like for instance, if you went to PriceSmart and you received poor service,
and lie down.
If you receive poor service from PriceSmart and you have to write a letter of complaint to the owner, have you ever met the owner of PriceSmart? When you go to PriceSmart on a daily basis, you don't just walk up and meet the owner and you all conversed before already. You all didn't. So in the letter writing, some of you all began with, "Hi, how are you?" This is someone that you don't know. So this is someone that you know that you've never spoken to before. So your tone of voice needs to be very, very formal. Denzel, you stop it. So your tone of voice should be businesslike. So just think of how a manager would talk in the organization, how a boss would talk, and try to make sure that your writing sounds like that. That if somebody reads this, they'll be like, "Wow, this sounds as though the boss wrote it or the HR manager wrote this." So your tone should be businesslike, it should be respectful, it shouldn't be hostile or threatening. So although you're giving people information about something, sort of warning them, you don't want to come across as being too mean, too harsh, right? You just want to come across as you, yes, Sanjay, and break should be this break, and you're getting your break at 6:45 to 7 p.m. Right? That's your usual break time, 6:45 to 7 p.m. So when it's 6:45, which is next 15 minutes, you'll be getting a 15 minutes break, okay? Right. So just remember that although in the memorandums we're talking about serious issues in the workplace, it would never come across as being like if the person is quarreling and they're threatening you. So some purposes of the memo, we have some major functions. So for example, you could get a memo about explaining policies. So remember what was said up here, that the memo talks about matters in the world of work. So for some of you who are going to school, you may not completely understand what the memo is about, but once we continue reading about it, and even when you're entering into the world of work, you will see exactly what the memorandum is about. So maybe in your work, they want to explain a new policy that was implemented. So you would receive a document explaining the policies. The next thing could be to collect information. So maybe if they're doing update on employees, they would ask you all to give some sort of information so they can circulate a document for you all to actually add personal information about yourself in it. So the next thing is that the memo could be about a request. So maybe the boss or the manager wants to request of a additional time from you, wants you to stay back after work to attend a function or an event. So it could be about a request. Also, the memo could be about just basically informing you all that, you know, they're having a meeting at this set date and this set time. The next thing is that the memo could be to provide suggestions or recommendations. So for instance, if a matter was discussed in a meeting last week, maybe they could have a memo circulating this week about, you know, some suggestions or recommendations about the issue that was discussed. The next thing is procedures. So general procedures in the workplace, if you all are dissatisfied about it, there could be a memo circulating so that you all could discuss the procedures.
Miss.
Yes, Shayla.
Sorry to disrupt. I hear music coming through somebody might kind of disrupted.
Yes, let me see who's that so I can mute them. That's Lyndon's mic. Like I can't mute him because I'll mute myself.
Lyndon watching Barney too?
Denzel, whatever. So maybe there could be some procedures in the workplace that is of discussion. Maybe employees raise an alarm that they're dissatisfied with something. So a memo could be circulated so that you all could discuss a procedure that's taking place. The next thing is to set an agenda. So if there's a meeting to take place, maybe they want to send a memo before getting information as to when is the best date, the best time, and even for the agenda for the meeting. The next thing is to clarify or summarize an issue. So again, if there are issues in the workplace or you want to get some sort of feedback from employees, you could do so with the memo, or even circulate minutes of a meeting. And we'll be discussing minutes later on. But for those of us who have actually been into the world of work, when you all go to meetings, or even if you're involved in a group, when you all go to like you're involved in some club, like a cricket club, if you're involved in a group at church, when you go to these meetings, there will always be the secretary taking minutes of the meeting. So we'll discuss that later on. And the minutes are there so that you all can make the minutes available to everyone who was present. So maybe after a meeting takes place, like a few days later, or even a week later, a memo could be circulated, so that document could be circulated with the minutes from the meeting so that everyone could be aware of it. So the format of the memorandum format varies, but it consists of two parts. So the first thing is that there must be the identifying information, and then there will be the subject. So here is the preferred format. And this, just remember that this is very much linked to the email, right? So if you have a memo to write, the first thing is that you have to put two. So who is the memo, the document being directed to? So in this case, it's being directed to Miss Heather Thomas, and she is the Human Resource Officer. So you always put the person's name first, and right below it, you put their job title as well. Then you skip your line and you put the from. So you put the person who's sending the memo, so Mr. Selwyn Hughes, and you put his job title as well, so he's the safety officer. Then you skip your line and then you include the date. So in this case, the memo was being circulated on 26th of September 2009. Okay, so I see that we ran out of time, but we have like 9 more minutes, but that will be our break. So never mind, we will just start back up again. So we have the date. After you skip your line, then you put your subject. So you must give your memo a subject. So whatever your memo is about, you put a general subject so that the person could be preview into what is going to be discussed in the document that they're about to read. So in this case, the subject was measures to reduce risk of fires. So remember above hand, they said that the memo has 2 formats, has 2 parts, which is the identified information, which would be this. And then the message. So let's look at the structure of the memo, which will consist of the message. So the memorandum should be organized in such a way that readers will find information readily and act on it promptly. A memorandum has 3 sections, so it will be divided into the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. So these are the things that you're going to include in the introduction of the memo. The very first thing is that you're going to inform the reader about the purpose of the memo. So you're letting them know that this memo is to request information or to inform you all or to delegate someone to do a particular task. So that's the very first thing that you must write. The second thing is that you provide background information if necessary. So if you are requesting information from employees that about maybe you're requesting simple thing like if they're vegetarian or not, maybe you let them know the purpose of this. Maybe it's because the organization is catering lunch for you all for Employee Appreciation Day, so that's why you're requesting this information from them. So if necessary, you could provide background information as to why this memo is being circulated and why you are informing them about this, requesting information, or delegating them about something. And the next thing is that in the introduction, the very last thing you must do is that you must refer to the subject of the memo. So the subject of the memo, whatever the memo is about, you need to directly state it in the introduction of the memo. Then in the body of the memo, you have to give details of information. So the request, the problem or procedure, you could even provide the date, the time, and the location. So this is where you're going to elaborate, right? So remember the memo is that maybe you're having a memo to tell them about a meeting. So you give them details of information. So if you're having a meeting, you let them know like the day, the time, the location of the meeting, even general information about the meeting. So you let them know, you preview them into what the meeting is going to be about, so that they have an idea. You could even request something from them, saying that when you come into this meeting, walk with your writing materials. So you let them know what exactly is necessary for this meeting to take place.
Hi, Miss.
Yes, Hima.
The memo have a word limit?
You remember I told you that in this section they don't give you the word limit, but our word limit is 200 to 250 words.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah. The question would not specify the word limit for you all, but just remember that the word limit that I give you all for you all to get 30 marks, so that 30 is 200 to 250 words.
So this section B, everything in section B, the report, letter, everything is 200 to 250 words.
Yes.
All right.
Everything.
Exactly.
Yes, so section B word limit on the whole, everything, you're writing between 200 to 250 words. Good. And then in the conclusion of the memo, so the very last thing you put at the end is that you ask the reader to respond by a specific date. So remember, if you're requesting something from them, you let them know that, hey, give me some feedback by the specific date. You can even offer suggestions or recommendations as to whatever was being discussed in the body of it. And you could also ask the readers if clarification is needed. So, we like to put that little line that says, if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to contact me. So you let them know that, if you need clarification or whatever was being said in this document, you can feel free to contact me if necessary. And then you end on a courteous note. And I realize that for this section, some of you all don't know how to be courteous. And courteous means kind, right? So I always told you all that end on a courteous note with letter of complaint. Some of you all ended really harsh. Like when I read the letter, I was like, wow, if I read this, maybe I'll be scared that this person came and like shot me or something. Although they complaining about the laptop computer. But remember, whatever whenever you're communicating into the world of work and in a professional manner, regardless of what you are communicating, if it's a complaint that you're communicating, if you're collecting information, you're giving recommendations or suggestions, whatever is being communicated, you must always end on a courteous note. Regardless of if it's something that is upsetting, always put that courteous, that very kind ending. And then in the end, you could express appreciation if relevant or necessary. So depending on what the memo was about, maybe the memo was talking about, telling everybody thanks for attending a function and informing them of the remarkable feedback. So in this case, you could express your appreciation to the employees that will be receiving the memo. In some instances, the body or the nature of the memo won't necessarily be geared towards appreciation. So if relevant, you could also include appreciation. And I put the memo and the email close by to each other because the format of the memo and the format of the email is basically the same. A memo is just like a typed version of an email or even a written version. So like in this case, you'll have to write a memo in the exam, but the format of the memo and the email is the same. So in terms of the to, the from, the date, the subject, this will be the beginning of the memo, so the information, and then you have the body of the memo. The body of the memo will be typical. After you put this, you skip a line, your margins begin by the left-hand side. When you finish one paragraph, you skip a line, the paragraph begins on the left-hand side by the margin, you don't indent. So the memo is the same format, and I'll put a sample of the email to show you all how it's basically the same, right? So I know we have 3 more minutes until the break. So let me just take any questions you all have. And when we resume at 7 o'clock, because you have a 15 minutes break from 6:45 to 7, we'll be continuing with the email and the minutes and so on. And I'll be showing you all samples. So anybody has any questions about the memorandum or even about section 2 on the whole? Yes, Sanjay.
Okay, when we're doing it, right? How long is each piece? Like, how long does the time difference fit?
I didn't hear what you said. I just heard how long was each piece?
Yeah, like how long is the time frame between each section?
You mean for the actual CSEC exam?
Yeah.
Oh, so for section B, the time limit for section B is a half an hour.
Okay.
Because remember, section B, they give you all the details in the question. So all I want you to do is literally just write back all the details for them. So you shouldn't spend more than a half an hour in section B. If you have to go over that, you should only go over that limit by 5 to 10 minutes. So section B shouldn't take you more than 40 minutes to complete. But try to aim for the 30 to 35 minutes. That's a good time frame. So like for section A, you have 40 minutes to write the summary. Section B, you have a half an hour. For the short stories, a bit longer, you have 45 minutes. And for the argumentative essay as well.
Okay.
But don't worry, after we finish with today's lesson and we go on to short story, I'm gonna have enough time carded for y'all to actually practice writing all the essays and doing an entire paper too. I know that the ministry said that they want schools to remain closed until the 20th of April, but I actually want for us to like be together and I time you all and you all write. So I don't know if you all will be willing to put on your gloves and your mask and come when we do that. But I have to be a unanimous vote.
I coming in a garbage bag, yes?
Hi, allow me to interject, Marissa.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that would not be possible as we would not be having any classes as we are now in compliance with the Ministry of Education and ECTT.
Also, we have to wait until the 20th.
Yes.
Yeah, because I wanted them to actually sit in class and I timed them and they do like the whole paper too and stuff.
Miss, will you could time us on this?
Yeah, I could time you all on this and make you all write it. And after you all finish, I could tell everybody, okay, email it to me now. I think I would do you all that.
That sounds like a good idea, Miss.
Yeah, I think I would do that. Like when we're practicing our writing, I would say, okay, everyone, start to write your notice now. And then I'll say, okay, stop. Well, obviously, we'll be typing it on the computer, right? And then I'll say, okay, stop, everybody, email it to me now.
Typing could be slower than writing, you know.
So that's the way you want to do it. Write it and take a picture and send it to me?
Yeah, I prefer to write and scan it on
And how am I
my
going to correct
phone.
the picture?